The Soybean School on RealAgriculture.com is brought to you by Pride Seeds, Nodulator Pro, and Cruiser Max Vibrance Beans.
Back on the Soybean School with OMAFRA's soybean specialist, Horst Bohner. Sir, thank you again for taking the time.
You're welcome.
We want to talk about rolling soybeans now. I visited you, caught up with you this summer at your Bohner home test site, and you were rolling soybeans. And at the time, we did a video, and we talked about obviously the need for rolling soybeans, from a combining perspective, from a crusting perspective. But you were doing some really interesting research on hormonal responses to rolling. Tell us about that, and then we're going to talk about what you found out.
So the fundamental idea is, and we've heard this for many years, of course, growers putting in a little bit of extra herbicide to burn the beans early, to somehow induce a stress response, right? And the concept here is less a stress response and more of a bushiness kind of response within the plant. In other words, can you get more nodes per plant by pushing them down early in the season, first trifoliate, second trifoliate, that kind of window, because we know beans will bounce back, right? But if you watch those plants through the season, they often have a bit of a crook, some of them, a bit of a bend, and they can have some more pods on them, interestingly enough. And so really, fundamentally, as an agronomist, what I'm interested in is extra yield.
Yeah. Now, you had a whole lot of trials there. You were looking at V1, V2, V3 rolling.
Yeah.
What did you find out?
So we had 4 sites across the province, one in eastern Ontario as well, to try and get a sense of, whether we would see the same kind of results. And they were very consistent. That's the good news, for sure. So the long and the short of it is, of course, rolling right after seeding, we were able to pick up about half a bushel more in yield. And I think that makes sense. The combine header just works a little more efficiently. So that's fine. The real interesting one is at the first trifoliate leaf stage, right? So those beans are growing nicely now, and you look at the video, they're looking good. We push them down, they stand back up, 2 bushels. 2 bushels, statistically significant, 2 bushels. And that's a nice number. That's a nice number. And of course, when you push it a little further into the second trifoliate, a little less yield, right? We're starting to see 1 to 1.5. And then the third trifoliate, really things are starting to fall apart. We're actually taking a yield loss. In one spot, when we rolled at the third trifoliate, we actually took over a 10 bushel yield hit. So it was wet there too, and those kind of things, right? But we wanted to force the beans at the right stage. Right. And so anyway, all that to say is it makes you wonder what else we can do that's relatively simple to stimulate this kind of bushy hormone response, if that's what you want to call it, to get extra pods and extra yield. 2 bushels, I'm not going to laugh at that.
No. I mean, we talked about on this program for years about, generating sort of yield responses, and 2 bushels is 2 bushels, pretty significant in soybeans.
Well, especially if you're rolling anyway, right? I mean, if a grower's rolling anyway, and if you can wrap your brain around leaving it all alone after seeding, waiting, and the ground was dry and now it's gotten wet, and now some weeds are starting to come and the beans are there, and now you get your roller out, right? It's hard to wrap your brain around that, but if there are a few bushels, and we'll carry on. We need some more data, but if there are, hey, maybe that's the way to do it.
Hey, at a 46 bushel average, 2 bushels, that's almost 5%. Nothing to sneeze at.
There you go.
Awesome.
There you go.
Thank you for your time, sir. We'll see you back in the research trial business next summer.
Very good. Thank you for coming.